بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. This is just a brief description of what Allah Tabarak Ta'ala had allowed us to experience today, being the 11th of Ramadan. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala gave us the chance to visit a few orphanages very close to the Syrian border, approximately about 2 to 3 kilos from it. From the orphanage itself you can actually see into the lands, what they call today Syria. But in reality, even the place that we were standing on, which is on the Turkish side, is part of the lands of Sham. So when we landed in this area and we drove to this place called Reyhanli, then the land, the grass around us immediately brought to memory those verses of Quran where Allah Tabarak Ta'ala speaks of the great barakat of the land of Sham. Extremely green, beautiful. But what was more amazing than that was the people. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam beautifully said, "La tasubbu ahl Sham." Don't ever criticize the people of Sham. He said, because in the lands of Sham are the best of Allah's creation. Khiyaratullah fil ard, the best of Allah's creation. Ali radiallahu anh said, it is in the lands of Sham that you will find the Abdal. It is through these people that rain is given, you are helped, tunsarun wa turzaqun, sustenance is given, help is given. So what I will mention now is something that, like how we say, a person can only understand the taste of a fruit if he himself has to eat it. My experience may not be exactly the experience of somebody else. It was an experience of something that cannot really be described. Expecting to visit an orphanage, people, some of who 4 years ago were taken out of their lives, out of their homes, separated from their parents, some of who can still remember their father or their mother or both of them being martyred, some of who, when they do speak through that smile of theirs, then you will see a slight tear coming to the eye. So how normally a person would think of an orphan and an orphanage, it's a thing that will bring sadness, will make you tear. And while fasting, it's not the best of times to go to an orphanage normally, because you yourself are waiting for iftar and it's not going to be something in a good mood. But when we entered the orphanages, we were surprised to see it was more like a celebration. Those people in the orphanages, those children, were extremely happy to see us. We were strangers. Language did not mean anything with them. Whether we could speak their language or we could not speak, it was like hearts were speaking with hearts. How they took to everyone in the group. How everyone was able to become a friend in a very few short hours. So close we came to them that iftar I made with one of those youngsters, his name was Imran. While sitting, he came and he asked, "Can I eat with you?" I had just met him a while ago. But he became so friendly. I asked him his age, 12 years old. I asked him when did his father pass away, 6 years ago. Does he remember it? In the most unique manner he explained to me how his father was taken, how his father was martyred. And it was like difficult when the time came to tell him that now we are going. It was like I was thinking, if I had to take this boy out with us in Jamaat for 3 days, after that 3 days it will be like a family separating. So close they were able to get to the hearts of every single person. I asked the boy, "Do you get many visitors?" So normally either a person complains and he says, "No one ever comes to visit us." But the way this boy answered, that answer was too unique. First he said, "Qaleel, very few people will come to visit us." He said, "وَنَشْكُرُكُمْ يَا Shaykh." He said, "But how we thank you from our hearts, O Shaykh, that you all came to visit us." That appreciation that they showed. While we were fasting, perhaps we must have spent with them at least about 3 hours until we had to break the fast. Those 3 hours went without even us thinking of the roza. So it is something to experience. We have always heard and understood from the ahadith that a person who spends time with orphans, softness will definitely come in their heart. Perhaps these are normal orphans and it happens with all orphans, or perhaps these are someone unique, being the people of Sham. So it was something to experience. It was a few questions that we would ask. Some of them, the smiles the tear that would come out would betray the smile when you would ask them, do you remember what happened? And then the person would say, sometimes I think of it at night. And then you will see the tear coming, then you would feel hard to ask him that who you lost in your family. There would be those that we would meet and he would say, my father was martyred, I am here with my mother and my sisters. Some of them, the way they will smile and say it to you, it's like a miracle of Iman that a person can speak about a difficulty. Especially in the first orphanage that we went to, as I mentioned, you can see the land of Sham from that orphanage. So when this boy every day is looking out of the window, we would have thought that this would be even more depressing. And he would cry, and he would say, that's my land, and I'm thinking of my father. But the way the boy pointed, and he said, that's where the land I came from. You saw it, just over there. And I asked, do you go? He said, no, it's difficult to go, but we do phone our families. But that smile that he is saying it, so at that moment when he said it, I just thought of one thing. And perhaps this is one reason why I felt that I will make this clip. May Allah make it beneficial to all. Whoever hears it, few lessons we can take is, one is, the few orphanages that we visited, there are many, and what we have heard is the orphans in the world, whether it's in Sham or wherever it is, they go into the millions perhaps, who knows. And if someone says that how will I manage to save every one of them? So these orphans that we met, they were a few years ago or few months ago perhaps, they were in tents. It was a structure that was protective, but it was a tent in the end of the day. And now this family has been taken and given what we call an apartment. We visited one of those apartments. As I went through it, I thought of that incident which recently I had mentioned, where that person had a dream, and in the dream he was told to phone a certain number. He had the dream the second day, the third day he phoned it. And the person on the other end laughed when he said, I was told in my dream to phone you and take you for Umrah. And he laughed. It took him a long time to convince that person. Finally the man said, you must come here, you must take me, bring me back. He went to the person, he found a drunkard, a man who had never performed Salah. He had to take him, he had to show him how to make the Umrah. The Umrah completed, the man said, give me time, I want to read 2 more rakats of Salah. While waiting for the person, the man not getting up, he moved him, he found he had passed away in sajda. So the person who had the dream now is saying, I'm amazed at this, that what a dream it was. I brought the person here, he passed away in Ihram. Then he said, I saw that ghusl being given with Zamzam. Then he was buried, and what is janazah, the janazah of the haram. He says, and after a week or two I went to visit the family. And then one of the questions he asked is, what good did your husband ever do? And that woman said that I know that at night the last thing he did was to drink, and in the morning the first thing that he would do was drink. So we call it habitual drunkard. She says, but when he would come home at night, when he would pass by the house of one, what is called the family of an orphan house, a woman with her children. He would go to buy his liquor, but because he was passing this house, he would buy some groceries, he would leave it. The woman says, I know, because there were certain times he would tell me to phone the house and say, open the door. She says, those times when I would phone the house to say, open the door, my husband left a parcel. She says, I remember that woman would say this dua, Allahu yuhsinu khatimak, that may Allah make your end very mubarak. May Allah make your end very beautiful. She says, if something could give my husband a beautiful end, it's that one woman's dua. So today when we walk through those rooms, then obviously the woman of the house, they were behind, they were in parda. They just gave us a chance to see that apartment. They don't own the apartment. It's being rented out for them. But at that moment the incident went through my heart again, that Many people ask, how can I get that widow's dua? So here is a chance where someone comes out of a tent and is given an apartment. And what dua goes through their heart when their children can then move in that apartment like free boys. So it was a unique experience, and it is something that we feel that whoever Allah Ta'ala gives the chance, you will only understand how this fruit tastes if you yourself taste it. Allah has made a lot of arrangements. So the thing I wanted to mention is the orphanages that we saw, each one with a lot of orphans in it and a lot of people living. By the fadl and the kindness of Allah Ta'ala, the ones that we saw, those ones are being funded by families from South Africa, either from one town or from one street or from one family, which made us understand that if Allah Ta'ala did not allow us to be the people of the Quran, meaning the Arabs, and from this Jamaat who is known as Khiyaratullah fil Ard, the best of Allah's creation on earth, then Allah Ta'ala has to a certain extent given the people of our land the ability to be khadims to these people. And to make the khidmah is no small thing. If they are the beloveds of Allah, then to be of any servant to the beloved of Allah, if they are the future of the Ummah, then to be of any khidmah to the future of Ummah, it will definitely be an izzat and an honor for us all. May Allah Ta'ala make it beneficial what I have mentioned for all, and may Allah Ta'ala give everyone who hears this the ability to one day visit these Mubarak lands of Sham and to see the smile on the faces of these orphans, which takes away gham and grief from even our hearts. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.